The Passenger Rail Agency of South Africa's board is holding a press conference. Let's turn to them now.
But due to the instability in leadership, to the fact that there was so much that was broken in the system, it didn't take place. But we are proud to say that today we have, as a board of PRASA, delivered to our shareholder, the Minister of Transport, the annual report for 2016-17, which not only gives the status of PRASA, but also goes into the funding and financial health of PRASA. As a board, we are not proud that PRASA is presenting its 2016-17 financial results with a qualified audit opinion from the Auditor General. However, we are committed to ensuring that all those areas that have been identified in the auditor's report are fixed so that PRASA can turn around and actually start to be a properly governed and properly financially firm organization. In this annual report that we presented to the Minister, the shareholder today, we report comprehensive losses of 928 million, which is 68% up from the previous year, which was 554 million in 2015-16. That clearly shows that we are not in a good state, and I'm going to ask the CEO just in a few minutes to probably go into a bit of a detail in terms of what targets we met, what targets were not met, and maybe just give a flavor on some of the initiatives that we intend to roll out. And I may say that we have started already, but we just need to give you a flavor of that. We have presented to our shareholder a rescue plan, as we always refer to it, because we believe that if we call it a rescue plan, it will actually demonstrate and keep it always at the back of our minds that this is not just about business as usual. It's actually about rescuing. And you know, when you go out and rescue, that you need to use all your energy and efforts and skills in order to get to that rescue stage. Because the situation that we report in our annual reports is untenable, and it actually demands that drastic measures and immediate interventions are taken. So to this effect, the board, together with management, has developed what we call a rescue plan, but appropriately called Get on Track, which has 10 targeted interventions that will seek to deliver. I will just give a flavor of some of the areas that we seek to deliver on. They are arresting the current decline in business performance, bringing organizational stability and strict governance to PRASA, fixing a misaligned and fragmented organizational structure, driving efficiencies and effectiveness to improve on service delivery, and fast-tracking our modernization program so that we can improve passenger rail travel experience. This obviously will take a lot of resources that I think the CEO will also go into a bit of detail into that, but we also believe that this is crucial to ensure that we do get PRASA back on track and that we do fulfill on our mandate. I talked about leadership instability at the beginning of my statement, which has led to PRASA only presenting its annual 2016-17 to the shareholder now. Part of it also goes to the executive level, in that there are critical vacancies that are vacant at PRASA. We have an interim CEO, we have an exco that I would say more than 50% of it are people who are acting in those roles. And this board has identified that as an area that we have to achieve, we have to deliver on within months. It is crucial in the turning around of the organization that people are permanently placed on contract at PRASA so that they can deliver, so that their performance can be measured and they can be evaluated against the targets that have been set from them. Progress has been made in this regard, and it is our commitment as a board to ensure that we capacitate the organization with skilled professionals that have a track record of superior performance. A vigorous recruitment process will soon be underway and should be completed in the next few months in this regard. As far as our commitment to the National Development Plan, in the past few days we have been reading headlines that say South Africa is in recession. The National Planning Commission has set targets for 2030 for achieving growth targets so that South Africa can create jobs, can ensure that people have a decent life and their basic needs are met. As 2030 ticks closer and closer, instead of the graph going high towards the 6%, the graph is actually going backwards. And each year it's 1, then it's minus, then it's all that. PRASA has a critical role to play in ensuring that it meets its targets that will feed into the National Development Plan, which affects each and every citizen in this country. So our strategic plans, our turnaround plan, all those initiatives are also built with the intention of ensuring that we are talking the bigger picture. It not only passengers from morning till evening, but also is to, in the bigger picture, what is the role that PRASA is playing in ensuring that we do achieve the roles of the National Development Plan. Public transport solutions that respond to the needs of travelers are key in the National Development Plan. The provision of reliable, safe and affordable transport, improving accessibility and connectivity to marginalized and rural communities is a key element. Public transport solution that supports economic growth and spatial development, and last but not least, localization and industrialization that will create the necessary jobs that this country needs so that the word recession can get out of our vocabulary. Dr. Sithole likes to say to me when we have these engagements that how many chapters in the NDP? That talk about transport? 7 of them. So that just demonstrates to us how critical PRASA's success, PRASA's growth, and PRASA's turnaround is to ensuring that the goals of the NDP are achieved. We know that in the media is always headlines about SOEs and how SOEs are faring and how SOEs are not faring and how SOEs are delivering on their mandate or not delivering on their mandates. The past couple of months, I think since the new president administration took over, has been plagued with ensuring that SOEs are fixed. New boards have been appointed at various SOEs. And this is not just so that people can be destabilized from previous roles that they had, but it's a demonstration that SOEs are very critical in driving economic growth in this country. The private sector has a role to play, but the SOEs, as major employers and drivers of economic growth, also have a very key role to play in this regard. PRASA, as a state-owned entity, is also alive to the role that it needs to play and is playing to ensuring that it responds to the state's developmental agenda. At this stage, I would like to hand over to our CEO so that he can take us through where we are as an entity. And I know that he was still trying to catch his breath, but I think he's recovered now. Just where we are as an entity, as a board, the issues of governance, the issues of ensuring stability and ensuring that we are driving the institution, we are seized with that. And while I was speaking, we were joined by other board members who were coming from the AGM. So when you ask questions, I will have a very able team that will assist. We are joined by Mr. Nazir Ali, who is a member of the PRASA board, Ms. Matlala, who is a member of the board. I saw Dr. Sishi, who is a member of the board, also representing the shareholder on the board. Director Doris Tsepe, a member of the board. And I think I saw Mr. Sitai over there, a member of the board, who also represents a National Treasury on the board. And Mr. Vesi, who is a member of the board. And when you want to ask questions about infrastructure and how he's going to spend the money, that is the man that will assist me to respond to those questions. I don't think I have left anyone out. So CEO, maybe if I started with her because she was here first. So as a board, as I have said, maybe in summing up, is that we are committed to leave PRASA a better place than we found it. One of our board members actually coined that phrase, and I think he may start asking for royalties at some stage. But our commitment is also that our strategy has to be aligned with government's policy statements, as well as our contribution to the development of the country, the region, and the continent, but particularly through the SADC region. The board also pledges itself to ensure that PRASA contributes to the country's aspirations of playing a prominent role in advancing government policies that advance the African Union's Agenda 63, as well as those that I have articulated in the Vision 2030 and its sustainable goals. I thank you and hand over to the CEO.
Thank you, Chair, members of the board, as well as the members of the media. It's fair to say that in PRASA, we have inherited not just a broken organization, but an organization that is at ICU. For all intent and purpose, we are really an organization that is struggling to survive. This is basically manifested at various levels, some of which the board chair has alluded to. Largely the governance issues. We have inherited an organization where internal controls have fundamentally been broken, and together with the board, we are now starting to look at what needs to be done, what do we prioritize in that level. Amongst the issues that we have prioritized are obviously the filling of critical vacancies, and we have started that process. But in filling vacancies, we want to be careful that we don't just fill vacancies because they are vacant, but rather to do an analysis whether those vacancies are still needed or not, so that we can start to add value in respect of the number of people that we will be introducing into the organization. Taking cognizance that in certain areas the organization is overstaffed, in other areas we are understaffed. And unfortunately, the areas where we are understaffed relates to technical expertise that are needed very much in the organization, both from the driving rail performance, but also for the implementation of our modernization program, in particular in relation to project management capabilities. Those are areas that we are looking at filling into the future. Linked to the filling of vacancies, we have had issues that are related to our safety permits, and the regulator identified safety critical positions that we need to fill. And we have identified a budget for that, and we are now in the process of filling those vacancies as a condition, basically as a condition of satisfying the conditionalities that the regulator has placed on us. Apart from the governance issues, obviously, that are linked to internal controls, there's a whole range of consequence management processes that are being implemented. The chair has already indicated that we are pressing disciplinary charges against a number of employees that have been identified in the derailed report, in some of the Auditor General's reports. And the proceedings are due to occur in the month of October. All the proceedings that have been set are all for October. The second part of that process is really to deal with all outstanding investigations that have been conducted by National Treasury, as well as by our own internal audit. We are also identifying processes for disciplining those individuals that are affected. Similarly, in what has been identified in the Auditor General's report for 2016, 2017, 2017 and 2018, as well as what we are currently uncovering in the current financial year, being 2018-19 financial year. All those issues will have to be dealt with, such that by the end of the financial year, we must report that at least all these processes have been dealt with. We are overall dealing with an amount in excess of 19 billion that have been identified in previous financial years.
All right, so we're going to come out of that press conference there. Passenger Rail Agency of South Africa, PRASA board chairperson was leading, Khanyisile Kweyama was leading the press conference, giving highlights of the agency's financials as presented to the shareholder. And she says that we're not proud that we delivered the 2016-2017 annual report with losses of almost R1 billion. And she says that the board and executives are committed to turning things around. She says that a rescue plan to fix things, and this situation demands drastic measures, she said. The agency is in a financial mess on the brink of financial collapse. And amongst other things, she says that she wants to get rid of rogue elements who've already instituted disciplinary proceedings against all of those accused of wrongdoing and corruption in various investigations. And so finally, she says that as a board, we are committed to leave PRASA in a better state than we found it. And we've just heard there from the acting CEO, Sibusiso Sithole, who said that we've inherited an organization not just broken, but is in ICU. And issues around governance, internal controls, breaking down were cited by him. And he says that a priority will be filling critical vacancies, and again reiterated as well actions being taken against certain members of staff, and hoping that these processes will kick in October. So that's the PRASA board presenting its financials, and a loss of nearly R1 billion. So things hopefully are going to be turning around soon, as the board chairperson Khanyisile Kweyama was saying.